My name is Olivia Nelson. I recently turned 30. Today, I want to share with you the story of the major turning point in my life. I have an older brother who is 2 years older than me. His name is Scott. From a young age, Scott was what you'd call a pretty boy. His facial features were well defined early on, and his handsome face was so talked about in the neighborhood that rumors spread about talent scouts from modeling agencies coming for him. He was what you might call a real heartthrob. He was likable, intelligent, and quick-witted, even as a child. Our parents, as well as the adults around us, all adored him. On the other hand, for some reason, I was the only one in our family who was a bit on the chubby side from kindergarten. Even though my facial features were similar to Scott's, being a bit chubby took away from my charm, and that's an understatement. I was shy, not very engaging, and I wasn't much of a talker, so I never got the chance to be praised as a smart kid like Scott. I noticed from an early age that people around us often contrasted us, labeling Scott and me as polar opposites. Our parents must have caught wind of this talk too. By the time I was in elementary school, it seems like my parents had lost interest in me. I didn't perform as well on school tests as Scott had at the same age, and I remained somewhat chubby. Scott was served an afternoon snack, but I wasn't. Despite this, I remained chubby. My mother used to laugh and say, "You really are as round as a ball." When I was a child, I didn't fully understand what she meant, and I just felt happy that she was laughing, but looking back, I realized that I was just the butt of her jokes. Scott would get new clothes and shoes for all sorts of reasons, his birthday, scoring a goal at his soccer club. Meanwhile, even though I was a girl, I got hand-me-downs from Scott, not just clothes, but shoes too. I can't remember how many times I tripped because the shoes didn't fit me. The only thing I treasured was the backpack that my grandparents gave me, just for me, before they passed away. After a while, Scott graduated from elementary school and moved on to a private middle school. My parents were overjoyed when he was accepted to a prestigious school known for its high academic standards. Around this time, Scott was so handsome that he was scouted to be a child model. Thanks to that, my parents, especially my mother, would often take Scott and purposefully walk down bustling streets like Fifth Avenue. She seemed to be saying, "Look how handsome my son is." On the other hand, I don't recall ever going out with my mother. Perhaps when I was a baby, but not after I grew up and became aware of things. Once, Scott suggested, "Next time, let's take Olivia with us too." I think he was aware, even as a child, that I was being neglected by our parents. But my mother just grimaced at Scott's words and replied, "Yes, someday." I didn't feel happy about Scott's considerate words. Rather, I felt miserable. A few years later, I also entered middle school. Unlike Scott, I went to a regular public middle school. To begin with, my parents never really expected much from me, so it seemed they had no intention of letting me take any exams. My dad even declared, "I can't afford to spend money on you." I didn't necessarily want to go to a private school, but being told such things from the start makes me feel like my life options are being limited. When I was little, I vaguely thought, is this how it is with sisters? I didn't know what other families were like. By the time I was born and aware, the abnormalities of this household were the norm. Around this time, I was going through puberty and started wondering, why am I the only one being treated differently? But the treatment I received from my parents only became stricter. Even though my mom was a housewife and should have had time, she often made me do the chores and go shopping while she went out to play with her friends. My dad too, when I said I wanted to go play with my friends, would accuse me. "What about the household chores?" My brother always cared about me, helped out, and even argued with our parents on my behalf, but they wouldn't listen to his opinions when it came to treating me. Eventually, my brother has a focus on high school entrance exams and then moved on to one of the top prep schools in the state, which meant he no longer had time to pay attention to me or our home. And that's when I truly started to understand what hell was like. The first incident was the no showing up in parent-teacher meeting. In other families, parents missing a parent-teacher meeting would be a big deal. But for my parents, it was more like, "We're not going, so what?" So it wasn't really considered an incident. During my 3 years of middle school, my parents only attended one meeting when I was in my first year. They didn't come during my second year or even during the crucial time of my third year when exams were around the corner. My homeroom teacher worried, "Is something happening at home?" But I brushed it off. I knew my situation wasn't normal, but it's not like my parents were physically abusive. I didn't know how to express the ongoing mental torment I was experiencing. It felt embarrassing to talk about it, as if I was confessing I'm a child not cherished by her own parents. The incidents continued. The New Year's Eve abandonment. At the end of that year, my parents took my brother to my mom's hometown and left me behind. Up until the previous year, I was included, but that year they said, "You're a student preparing for exams, so stay at home and study." I guess studying was just a pretext. They probably just found me annoying. So I ended up spending New Year's Eve all by myself. I didn't want to ask my friends to hang out on such a day because it felt like saying, I'm a lonely kid who was left behind, so I stayed home not meeting anyone. I held back my painful feelings, watched the Grammys alone, turned into the New Year's Eve specials, and went to bed after shedding a few tears. It happened the next morning. Ding dong, ding dong! The doorbell rang incessantly, and I jumped out of bed. It was too early for my family to be back. I nervously checked who was on the doorbell camera. There stood my uncle and aunt from my mom's side. Shocked, I rushed to the door with my bed hair and asked, "What's happening?" "Olivia, leave this house. We've already discussed this with your mom. Don't worry, we'll take care of all the formalities," my uncle stated abruptly. "Wait, what do you mean?" I stammered, thrown off by his demeanor. I couldn't comprehend what he meant by leaving the house. "Olivia, if you don't mind, we want you to become our daughter. We don't have any children of our own, but ever since you were born, we've always thought of you as our daughter," my aunt said softly, tears welling in her eyes. I couldn't see the bigger picture then. Indeed, my aunt and uncle, who couldn't have children due to an illness, always doted on me whenever they visited. They loved me so much that I knew they had often criticized my parents' treatment towards me. They were the ones who spent time with me, the one left alone while my parents focused on my older brother. My aunt played with me, and my uncle bought me the latest treats and cute clothes. The memories I have with my aunts and uncle far outnumber those of my parents. My uncle, who had just been with my parents, started a conversation like this. "Your parents, they don't plan on letting you go to high school. They said when you turn 16, they want you to work to help fund Scott's college education. We can't turn a blind eye to this. Olivia, you have the right to go to school and you don't need to work yourself to the bone for the family." I was stunned. I had no idea my parents planned to rob me of my future for the sake of my brother. It made sense then why they hadn't attended parent-teacher meetings for the past few years. They didn't have an interest in me or my dreams and aspirations. They expected me to work like a mule. My aunt and uncle knelt down and comforted me as I crumbled on the spot. "We may not be your real parents and you might feel awkward, but we will make sure you're happy," they said. Tears welled up in my aunt's eyes as she hugged me tightly, overcome with emotion. "Olivia, you have the right to be happy. We should have come for you sooner. If you're okay with it, we want you to become our daughter," my uncle added, his eyes reddening, looking straight at me. I wondered if I had ever been desired by adults in this way before. I was only just over 10 years old, but I knew what I had to choose. I decided to become their adopted daughter. Fast forward 10 years. Since they took me in, my aunt and uncle have showered me with immense love and had given me countless joyful experiences. My aunt enjoyed picking out clothes for me and would take me shopping on holidays, and my uncle, who said he always wanted to drink with his daughter, had a bottle of wine from the year I was born ready for my 21st birthday. We went on trips together, and my uncle, surprisingly childlike, would take me to zoos and aquariums even when I was in high school. Those are unforgettable and irreplaceable memories that I never had with my biological parents. At first, I called them aunt and uncle, but gradually I began to see them as my parents. Now, I call them mom and dad. I heard from them that when my parents visited, they drunkenly said to my aunts and uncle, "Olivia's just hopeless. She's not cute and her looks are a bit, well, lackluster. She's not smart either. Honestly, we don't need a stupid daughter. We have our excellent eldest son, Scott." My aunt and uncle were furious at these words, and when my parents started saying they wouldn't let me go to high school, the topic of adoption came up. I'm forever grateful to my aunt who wasn't drinking that New Year's Eve and drove all the way to me in the middle of the night. I want to repay my wonderful parents for all they've done. I wanted to become a daughter who my foster parents would be glad to have adopted. With this in mind, I studied relentlessly after entering high school. Truth be told, a lot was going on during my high school entrance exams and I couldn't fully focus. Therefore, after starting high school, I decided to strive for a future that wouldn't embarrass my aunt and uncle and set that as my goal. My hard work paid off and I was able to enter a renowned public university. However, that was not enough to show my gratitude to my aunts and uncle. No, my dear parents. I want them to have an easy life in the future. With this in mind, I continued to study hard after entering college, obtained a weather forecaster license during my student years, and now I'm appearing on television as a weather forecaster. In addition, I wanted to make my aunts and uncle proud, so I worked hard on dieting and exercising, and now I have earned the nickname Beautiful Weather Forecaster. Looking back, I always resembled my brother in looks, so I had the potential to become a beauty too. My aunt and uncle always said that they were proud of me, but I feel that with this, I have become a daughter they can be genuinely proud of. I have so many things to repay and gratitude to express. I won't hold back my efforts. Just when I was thinking that, my biological parents suddenly appeared before me. "Olivia, oh, you've grown so much. You've become such a fine young lady." My parents, tears welling up in their eyes, clung to me. I was just about to leave the TV station and get into my car when this happened, and I was unable to catch up with the situation. Honestly, I had not seen them for so long that I did not recognize them at first. "We were shocked to see you on TV. Scott said it was Olivia. We never expected you to become such a beautiful woman, and a weather forecaster too? That's incredible." My father, as if to say, "Just as expected of my daughter," patted me on the shoulder. "Really, just as expected of our daughter. We are so proud." They really said it. I couldn't hide the look of disgust on my face and glared at my parents. But my parents continued the conversation without showing any sign of concern. "Oh, that's right. Since we've met, why don't we have a meal at the fancy restaurant just ahead?" "You must be earning a lot as a weather forecaster, right?" What is their intention after lying and waiting for me like stalkers? And after suggesting a meal at a fancy restaurant, they asked if I earn a lot. Don't they just look like they're trying to freeload off me? They won't be able to parasite off me. I have to drive them away so they won't want to see me again. As I thought this, a plan popped into my head. Oh, this could work. "Mom, Dad, it's nice to see you, but I have another job today so I can't go out to eat. Sorry." Of course I didn't have another job. I do have a plan to give my beloved aunt and uncle a meal at a fancy restaurant as a wedding anniversary gift. Oh, that's too bad. I didn't miss my mother's slight clicking of her tongue. "Could you maybe share your contact information? I'm organizing a small party for my birthday soon, and I'm inviting people from the TV station. There will be plenty of delicious food, and it'll be fancy, so I'd love to invite you to." Upon hearing this, my parents' eyes noticeably lit up. "Really? Oh, aren't we lucky? So actors will be coming as well?" "Oh, Dad, of course they'll be there." My parents were visibly excited, their smiles widening. Little did they know, no actors would be present. It was a small gathering, mainly a weather reporter's party. The main guests were people from the newspaper and TV station staff. At best, the most glamorous attendees would be the announcers and some TV personalities. Meeting my parents' expectant eyes, I simply smiled and said, "See you at the party," then left. A month later, as planned, I booked a venue and my birthday party took place. Despite being small, a good number of people gathered because, well, we rented a party venue. My parents arrived, arms waving, calling out, "Olivia!" They acted as if they wanted everyone to know they were my parents. It really gets on my nerves. "Dad, Mom, welcome. Could you head to the dressing room right away? They'll help you with everything from your clothes to makeup. The clothes you're wearing are lovely, but they also have rental designer clothes. Enjoy the atmosphere while you're here." At my suggestion, my parents beamed widely. They were so easy to read. They can't hide their joy. "Oh my, designer clothes. I hardly ever get the chance to wear them. I wonder if they'll suit me." "Haha, Mom, you put on a bit of weight." "Oh, stop it, Dad." While they were having this exchange, I flattered them. "You both still look young and beautiful, so anything will suit you." It seemed as if they'd been waiting for that compliment, and they both nodded in agreement. When I was a child, I was scared of being disliked any more than I already was. I couldn't see my parents clearly, and I couldn't understand what they were thinking, but looking at them now, they seemed quite simple. High-quality things, power, beautiful things. They're the type of people who wag their tails at things everyone likes. My parents, having had their hair and makeup done, were in high spirits as they returned to the party venue. My mother was in a pale pink mini dress that reveals her shoulders, something a young woman would wear. Her appearance was ridiculously inappropriate for her age. The sagging skin on her knees gave away her age. My father chose a bright red suit with a flashy tie decorated with yellow and green geometric patterns. He was the only one in the venue dressed in such a flashy suit. Even if there was no dress code, no one would choose such a poor combination. The clothes were indeed designer labels, but they were secondhand. I had actually prepared all of it. I want my parents to wear these today. These clothes remind me of a family party we attended when I was young. When I said that, neither the makeup artist nor the costume staff questioned it. Of course, I have no memories of attending a party with these parents. A lie is a convenient thing. My parents, who believe without a doubt in designer labels, seemed more than happy as long as I repeatedly said it suited them. In the past old days, my parents would listen to anything my outstanding brother said as long as it wasn't about me. Now they are on the receiving end of such remarks, with the outstanding label now on me. After a while, the party started, and as today's star, it was my turn to give a speech. Before I went up on stage, I told my parents, "I have a message for both of you in my speech today, so make sure to listen carefully," and I held their hands. They looked at me with surprise and said, "What?" But they kept looking at me happily, even after I had gone up on stage. Thank you all for coming to my birthday party today. I would also like to thank everyone who helped organize this party," I began. At my words, my friends teased me, shouting, "You're so formal," and "You're not usually like this, are you?" Hearing this, I jokingly responded, "I'm just being myself," and turned towards my parents. "My parents are here today, right over there," I said, pointing in their direction. The lighting staff took the cue and spotlighted my parents. Those are my brazen parents who had the audacity to appear on TV and even set an ambush for me, despite having abandoned me in my teenage years. A murmur rippled through the crowd at my statement. It was not surprising, as I had rarely discussed my past with anyone other than close friends. "What? Olivia, how could you say such a thing?" My mother jumped up while my father was left in stunned silence. Since I was about the age when I started kindergarten, those two constantly compared me to my high-performing older brother, Scott, and always favored him over me. I was the one who never got treats, had to wear Scott's hand-me-down clothes. Until I was in grade school, I still loved my parents despite all that. For a child, parents are everything. But during middle school, they started to impose household chores on me and finally declared they wouldn't let me go to high school. They wouldn't even attend parent-teacher conferences. That's when my caring uncle and aunt decided to adopt me. Saying this about myself feels odd, but usually I am quite cheerful. That's because my uncle and aunt have repeatedly told me with love that I am not a bad child. They allowed me to gain confidence and overcome my shyness, turning me into the positive person I am today. Therefore, it seemed my normally cheerful demeanor and my harsh background were a shocking contrast for the audience. There were immediate murmurs of the worst and how could they appear on their daughter's birthday dressed like that? The crowd started to criticize my parents. Unable to withstand the surrounding gaze, my parents hung their heads and trembled. But now, I am grateful to those two. It's because of them that I was able to find my real parents, my uncle and aunt, who showered me with the warmth of a family. At these words, my parents stared at me as if expecting some twist where they would be acknowledged as important parents as well. I merely responded with a quiet, smiling gaze. "Mr. Treasure from the Daily Info, are you here? Please make this story and these pictures into an article. Consider it a birthday present for me." As I called out to a friend from the magazine from the stage, he had already started capturing pictures of my parents. Hey, stop it! Stop it! Don't take pictures!" My parents frantically tried to hide their faces. Shameless till the very end, I shouted at them. "You always made me do things I didn't want to do, even when I begged you to stop. You can't just force others and not expect to be forced yourself." At my reprimand, my mother's eyes welled up with tears. "I'm sorry. If you make this into an article, it will also harm your mother and father. You wouldn't want that, would you, Olivia?" I was flabbergasted by her audacity. "Do you really think I still consider you two as my parents? You barely raised me. You completely abandoned your duties as parents. My real parents are my uncle and aunt. They are the only ones I consider as my mother and father. Don't ever interfere in my life again." Before I knew it, recalling all that happened, my gratitude towards my uncle and aunt, tears began to stream down my face. The attendees, seeing my state, forcefully escorted my parents out of the venue. It's over, this time for real. I have finally severed all ties with those people. As a child, I cut them off to find shelter with my uncle and aunt. But now I have truly distanced them from me, all by myself. Feeling accomplished and grateful to my uncle and aunt, I shed a few more tears for the growth I have achieved. But right now, I feel incredibly refreshed. After that, the magazine editor asked me, "Are you really okay with this?" I responded, "Yes, please proceed," and they ended up writing an article about my upbringing. The story was quite sensational. It was picked up by many TV shows. There were worries about my image taking a hit, but in reality, the narrative became a drama of a corner girl making a dramatic turnaround, a close look at a modern Cinderella. I received mostly favorable press, and the whole thing boosted my reputation instead of hurting it. On the other hand, those two, I know it might be confusing, so let's reluctantly call them parents. After my story was published, they were given the cold shoulder by our neighbors, leading to their decision to move houses. The gossip spread quickly at my father's workplace, and he was pushed to resign. My mother, who had always been a homemaker, was now unemployed as well. My brother Scott informs me that they were getting by on their savings. Yes, even after I was adopted, Scott remained concerned for me and would visit me at my new home with my aunt and uncle. Initially, he had expressed a desire for us to live together again, but soon acknowledged that it was a better decision for me to stay with my adoptive family. He was happy for me, confident that I had made the right choice. He was always there for me, even during my college years, guiding me in my studies. My precious older brother, Scott. Upon learning that I had revealed everything to the magazine, Scott decided to sever all ties with our biological parents. He would often joke, "The next time I'll see them is probably at their funeral," but knowing Scott, he probably wouldn't even attend that. 5 years had passed since then. I ended up marrying Mr. Treasure, who was working at the magazine that published my story. We now have children, and I'm a mother of a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. As a mother, I want to make sure my children are treated equally and can grow up in a happy and carefree environment, just like the selfless love that was shown to me by my aunt and uncle. And also, like my brother Scott, who has always watched over me, even from a distance. I want them to grow up to be kind and gentle to everyone they meet. But I still have other things I need to do besides raising my kids. Yes, that's to repay the kindness of my aunt and uncle. This year, for our wedding anniversary, I surprised them with a trip to Oregon, which we enjoyed together with my husband and children. My aunt and uncle would often tell me, "Olivia, you have your own family now, you don't need to do this." But this act of giving back is also a source of joy for me. It's not out of obligation, but rather because I want to see their happy faces. It's something that gives my life meaning. I jokingly tell them, "Don't take away my pleasure," as I start planning for our next surprise. Maybe a luxurious hotel stay for the entire family would be nice next time. There are still so many things we want to do as a family.